continue live from the training complex out here in Peoria, Arizona, Dave, and it's this is a must conversation. This is we always talk about who do we want to catch up with when we get out to spring training, and we always start with this guy. It's like, well, we got to catch up with Logan. You got to catch up with Logan Gilbert, otherwise it's not complete. And by God, here he is, right in front of us. How are you, man?
I'm honored. Thank you, guys.
We're going to tell Cal. We're going to tell Cal the same thing.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, this is every time we have conversations with players, we're always, what a great guy. But you're always at the top of the list.
That
man.
means a lot. Yeah,
we always appreciate it. Hey, how was the off season for you? You were one of two pitchers in all of Major League Baseball to throw 200 innings or more. That's a nice workload on the arm. Did you feel different at the end of the year? Like, okay, I need a little more rest, or how'd you feel physically?
I felt great, honestly. I think the whole team was really hitting our stride there late. We felt really good, but I didn't feel tired or anything. It was awesome to pass 200 innings. That was a big goal for me, but didn't feel like I was ready to be done by any means.
And your health has just been amazing. And we just talked to your guy Randy at the Armory. And so how much different type of movements did you do this off season? Did you add something this year?
Yeah, Randy's great. I always go back and check in with him, and it's kind of the finer details at this point. I don't really overhaul a ton of things. It's pretty simple, really, for all the complex words, but there's three main movements that we try to do, and it's kind of just trying to do them better and better over time, not really reinventing the wheel.
How much has your success sort of filtered down to other pitchers? Like, they're watching your durability, they're watching your consistency, and they're going, hey, what are you doing? And you're saying, I'm working over with Randy at the Armory. I mean, have you brought in new clientele, I guess, or people looking at you and saying, I need to, whatever you're doing, I need to figure that out?
Yeah, I always try to refer people if they need it. And you can kind of tell the people that, like me in high school when I had a little bit of arm pain, usually people get to that point before they're willing to do something like that. So at this point, a bunch of major leaguers around me, I'm trying not to, I'll definitely refer them if they're looking for help, but not trying to make someone overhaul everything if they're successful and healthy. So anytime somebody asks me, I would be happy to tell them how much it helped me and got me to this point, but, different things for every person.
How much for it, and I asked Randy the same question, how much what you do as far as the training goes is for performance versus just health and, keeping you healthy?
Good question. It's everything there. Randy knows it all, or I believe he does at least, and at first it's all about health, and you got to make sure you're healthy, and that was step one for me. And he even says it'd be malpractice for him to teach you how to throw harder before teaching you how to pitch healthy. Now, the only healthy pitch count is 0 is what he says, and it's true. But there's certain guidelines you like to stay within as far as trying to be healthy. And then at that point, it's teaching you velocity, how to throw harder, and how to move correctly and efficiently. And it's all about adjustability there. So, knowing that every single pitch we're going to move slightly differently. There's no completely repeatable delivery, but it's how can you execute your pitch even if you're slightly off a microsecond here or there with your release point and still being able to throw it where you want to.
What was the offseason goal for you? Do you get with the pitching coaches at the end of the season? They say, Logan, we want you to work on your slider. We want you to work on your four seam. Or is that something you do on your own?
A little bit of both. They do a great job here of meeting with us and making it very simple and obvious what their goals are for you. So at this point, like I said, it's not about reinventing a ton of stuff, thankfully. A big thing is pitch usage and trying, we all have good pitches at this point. It's how much you should use each one to righties and lefties and breaking that down. And you don't really know for sure. It's guesswork, but trying to find out when I was most successful and what kind of things I was doing and trying to do that a little bit more.
Logan, what do you think about this team? It's just the personality. Have you been able to get kind of a handle on sort of what's the culture of this team?
Yeah, it's been great. It's really fun. It starts with Dan at the top for sure, and he brings in a ton of energy and experience, and I think all the guys naturally want to follow him and like the identity he's put on this team early on. And then, a ton of fun guys. The outfield trio is amazing. They've been really fun, and especially with the new hairdo and color, blonde hair and all that. But Cal behind the plate, a lot of returning faces, and I think everybody feels really comfortable.
You guys in the rotation didn't want to do a simpatico thing? Like you're all wearing dreads like
We
Luis
were talking
Castillo?
about it. Yeah, that'd be a good one. I was thinking a different color, but yeah, I could go straight for dreads. That'd be good too.
And what's it like? I don't know how much you pay attention to national media or when they're talking about the team, good or bad, but when they talk about this team, it always starts with the rotation, the national voices, and they're all talking about, this is the best rotation in baseball. And you're hearing that from whether it's Tim Kirchin or whether it's, any writer or any national voice. When you hear that, I mean, is that I've got to imagine that's a source of pride for you?
Definitely. It's fun to hear about. It's not the end-all, be-all, but it's fun to get a little bit of recognition there. And, I mean, the other guys rightfully deserve everything they're doing as well, from, Wu and Bryce, the younger guys, to Castillo and Kirby, as consistent as they come. So it's just fun to be in this rotation, fun to get a little bit of attention. But there's so many good rotations out there. If they say we're the best, it's motivating to me, and if they say somebody else is better, then that's motivating too. So there's always something to prove.
I feel like you probably know Castillo and Kirby, and we sort of do. But what about the two young guys? Like, we were listening to Bryce Miller, and it sounds like all of a sudden it's like, damn, he sounds like a pro all of a sudden. He doesn't sound like a rookie anymore.
Yeah, it seems like it, right? I've kind of noticed that too, and I'm sure he's fun for you guys to talk to. He acts like he doesn't know anything, but he knows the numbers better than I do. He knows he's probably smarter than most people here, but for some reason doesn't want to play into it.
Okay.
But yeah, I've seen them. It seems like be more comfortable. I think they're starting to see themselves as some of the best in the league that they rightfully should. And that takes a little bit of time as you get into the big leagues, but they've proven that already.
Acts like he doesn't know anything. Huh?
For some reason, bold strategy, right? But he acts like it and then grabs the iPad and gives me all these numbers, and I'm asking him questions. He knows what he's doing.
I remember we spoke to you at the beginning of last year. We spoke to you in spring training. And by the way, we told you were going to be an all-star. I don't know if you remember that. But how cool was that? Because I remember talking to you about that. Like, what would that feel like? And you're like, well, I don't even want to think about it, but that'd be a huge honor. Well, you became an all-star. You went through the process. What was that like for you?
Oh, it was awesome. I guess I owe you guys a thank you for sure. Hopefully you can.
It was all us.
Hopefully you can make a even bolder prediction this year. But,
we're talking Cy Young. We're talking finalists.
We'll come back next year and see. It was awesome. So cool. I mean, so many guys deserving of it. To be in the clubhouse with those guys that year after year are all-stars and be included in that is really cool. Definitely something at the end of my career I wanted to check that box. So it's awesome to go through it. And the whole experience, I do want to go back just to be able to pitch in it for sure, but to be there and experience it was really, really cool.
All right, Logan, so you told us off the radio that you went to France this year with your wife. When you go out, do people recognize you? Like, were you noticed at all? Did anybody come up to you in France?
Oh, and France, so far removed, no. I was even asking our tour guide, who said, I think they had Peyton Manning one time, and nobody knew who he was, just walking around.
That would have been even better if they noticed him.
Yeah.
not
I know, right? Not Peyton. It was funny, though. I went to Italy the year before, and Shaggy, who was with us last year and with us in 21, we were walking down a random street in Italy and turned the corner, and Shaggy was right there. And we had no idea that we were going to be there at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And then last year he got traded back to us, so we were kind of reminiscing over the days in Italy that we randomly ran into each other. So that was pretty crazy.
But around here and in Seattle and everything, people know, right? I mean, you're kind of hard to miss, first of all. And then
yeah, true. I stick out a little bit with the height and long hair. It's kind of a giveaway. Arizona and Seattle, for sure, spring training time and during season. But outside of that, not too much.
Yeah.
It was interesting talking to your guy from the Armory, and just you have a different set of challenges based on your height, based long limbs. He talked about sometimes the legs coming over, blah blah blah. How conscious of that are you? Because that's the one thing he focused on is like you give Logan a little nugget to work on, a little thing, and he's going to grind it. He's going to just, like, they got to pull you back. But how often are you analyzing your film, looking at your mechanics and going, I'm opening up too quick. I'm doing this. My arm slot here is. How often are you, or do you overanalyze maybe?
I used to, for sure, years ago, and I think I've actually gotten better where I had to work backwards to what are a couple pillars that I hold on to that I want to see, and then if those are good, I kind of shut it off. And good analysis for me should be in 2 minutes, not 20 or 30, because then I start to create problems that might not even be there. So I have a couple things that I look for, and Randy's helped me with that a ton of what you can actually train and what's something I should care about. And then things outside of that, when you get on the mound, there's only so much you can actually control. You're moving so quickly. So everything I do these drills to influence my movement, but if I'm on the mound trying to move a certain way, usually it's not going to work out well.
Do you know when you're doing something wrong in the middle of a game, or maybe Cal points out, hey, you're flying open here or whatever?
Certain things, I try to turn my brain off more than most people would probably assume. I just kind of throw the ball as hard as I can. And I care a lot about my direction in game. That's the only thing I let myself care about. But if I'm moving quickly enough, usually things are going well. And if I Randy talks about your tempo and your tension, so breathing and being loose. If that's fine, then usually the rest of it's going to work out okay. If I'm way off mechanically in game, most people couldn't fix it anyways. You might actually make it worse. So I adjust targets more externally than I do something internally over the rubber.
So, yeah, I think it was Bryce Miller said he has 7 pitches right now. What about for you, and why did you laugh at that?
I got to come up with more. He's competitive. He'll show up with 2 every year. We joke around that at first I was trying out pitches, and if it worked, he would just steal it from me in 2 days. It was amazing how quickly he comes up with it. But now he kind of leapfrogged me, so I'm playing catch up. Yeah. He's so fun to watch, and what he can do with the baseball is really, really impressive, honestly. Him and Kirby can pick up any pitch in just about a day. So I'm messing around with this curveball he picked up last year. And then I've been working on a sinker for about 5 years now, so we can see if I make any progress there.
What's the difference in that curveball? What's the?
It's supposed to. So it's a little bit faster than it's. I mean, it's not really a new pitch as much as people are coining it as one. Yeah. It's kind of called a death ball. You might hear that in the pitching world now, but it's basically like a 12-6 curveball, but way faster. So in between, like a gyro slider is very fast, but has a tiny bit of depth. 12-6 curveball is very slow but has a ton of depth. It's in between those two, where it has the speed of a mid-80s curveball, but a little bit more depth than just a tiny little slider. So it's supposed to come out without the hump that hitters see, without the pop. So if you think of like a glass now curveball, it's kind of like that.
If you could pick any pitch to master right now that you don't have in your arsenal, what would it be?
Kirby's knuckleball.
I was just going to say would it be a knuckleball if you could just master it right out of the gate?
Oh, yeah. If I could master that, that'd be a ton of fun to throw. I don't know if it would actually help me in game, but just somebody who's tried a knuckleball since you pick up a baseball when you're 4 and haven't figured it out yet, I think that'd be a ton of fun.
If you put that in the mix, though, the hitters up there going, what?
Oh, yeah.
They couldn't be more off balance.
Oh, yeah.
You're up there throwing 98, 99, then you hit them with a knuckleball?
Keep them guessing. That's right.
Are you ever tempted to try it?
I feel like I just don't know if I can. I've tried around with it, but I would never probably be confident enough to throw it in a game, so hats off to George for making that happen. But I think it'd be fun if I could.
I remember there were certain players that I played against that I kind of had a thing for. It's not like I hated them, but like they were somebody I really wanted to get or hit hard or whatever. Do you have any hitters that, like, when you get them out, you're like, there's just a little extra?
Oh man, gosh, I mean, it's kind of the big moments for me more than the actual person. But if a guy got a couple of hits on me that game or last game, then maybe that situation, or really the big situations is what I love, because you get that adrenaline and you get all the juices flowing and that kind of stuff. I'd say Julio would be a fun one to pick somebody on my own team because we kind of go back and forth sometimes, and he's so competitive. I think that'd be fun.
Does he still call you Flacco?
Yeah, he does. I got Cal to ground out in live ABs this year, so that was really big for me.
I'm sure you hadn't said a word to him about it, right?
Oh, yeah, I would never.
Hey, what do you think of the ABS system? I don't know, if you were messing with it or what the directive is, don't mess with it, or is it something you like? It feels like it's inevitable that it's going to be there, but what's your feeling about it? I'm
not huge on it, and I haven't tried it yet. I'm kind of scared because the catchers are so good at framing now that they fool me all the time. If I don't really argue with umpires, but if I make a little face or something afterwards in game, I usually go back to the iPad and see that it was a ball. And the catchers kind of fool me into thinking it was a strike because they're so good at it. So I'm a little bit scared to challenge. I do realize that Cal's probably the best framer in the bigs. So if this gets instituted, or even like farther down the road, automated balls and strikes, it's kind of taking away from an art form that these guys have learned that's been in the game for so long. So I'm not huge on it. Selfishly, I think pitchers have a slight advantage to framing and bad calls than hitters do. So I kind of want that to stay in the game.
Yeah. Hey, so we know you have an alter ego, Walter White. Does Dan Wilson? I mean, I imagine being a catcher we see him all the time. He's just the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
Just like you. But does he have that other side when you guys are having team meetings and things like that?
I mean, he's so consistent. One of the most consistent guys I've seen. I don't think it's like a drastic change by any means, but when it's game day, we definitely interact a little differently. That we joke around all the time. He's an awesome guy, but when I'm pitching and I go in the dugout right before the first inning and fist bump him, it's very much like down to business. We're here to win, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I can already tell. Obviously, he played way before me, but I can tell when it's game time, he's the ultimate competitor.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm curious. You were talking about tempo and talking to Randy about your tempo and things like that. How much do you alter that when you've got runners on and you're trying to hold a runner on first? I think fans look at a stolen base and they put it on the catcher. Catcher didn't get. A lot of times it's on the pitcher and how quick they are to home plate. So, are you conscious of speeding up and trying to keep the guy? You're trying to help out your catcher and hold the guy on first. But how much does your tempo get altered when you've got somebody on first?
Definitely, that's a huge part of it. I try to be better about it because I'm not the quickest to the plate, and Cal will get on me sometimes, rightfully so. But it's about the looks, the timing to the plate, first of all, on like how long or how quickly and mixing up your looks to first base or second base. But then the actual time to the plate, like you said, it's usually on the pitcher if they steal. So I've been working on that a little bit more, working on slide steps. That was kind of an emphasis this spring that all the pitchers can get a little bit better at that.
Did you like the limitations on throwing to first, or are you somebody that would rather be able to throw there as much as you want?
I probably as much as I want. I don't do it a ton, really, and we usually call it in when we do pick off or something like that from the dugout. But I just don't like them having any advantage up there. You see the stolen bases go up. I think it's a big part of that being instituted. So any advantage I can have, I want to keep it.
Okay. Hey, Logan, what do you do other than when you say, okay, I'm going to get away from baseball? Are you a golfer, or is it more travel with your wife, or how do you get away from it?
We love travel, love seeing around. That's one of our passions, I would say. And I try to golf, still haven't figured it out yet. So going on 10 years and still trying to be the prototypical pitcher that can golf, but haven't quite found that yet. I've been messing around with guitar a little bit. I think that's pretty fun just to do something different.
Yeah. Well, you mastered the ukulele, though, right?
Apparently. We can put that out there on air for sure. But
Cal already did.
As long as I don't have to prove it, yes.
That's not what Cal said.
Yeah, Cal said he wanted to break it.
That's right, yeah. Any compliment I can tell that's not true.
You guys have pets?
We have a dog, French bulldog.
French bulldog? What's boy or girl?
Girl, her name's Winnie.
Winnie?
Yeah, a little Frenchie.
What do you do when you go on vacation? You got somebody that's...
Somebody watches her, yeah. Yeah, she probably likes it better. She goes to the in-laws' house, and they have kind of a farm out there, so she runs around, goes crazy.
Yeah, you like being a dog parent?
Yeah, I love it. It's been awesome. Yeah, it's fun having her out here. I'm hoping
Is she there?
She'll come out to the field like once or twice during spring. She hasn't been out here yet, but I'm trying to get Avalee to bring her to a bark at the park in Seattle. I think that'd be fun to see her out there.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So you guys have a place in Seattle and then anywhere else, or you just travel?
We rent in Seattle, rent out here when the time comes. So just a lot of moving around. That's kind of the lifestyle.
But where's your home base?
In Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, back home.
That's right.
So do you like it in Florida? You're not out there during the summer, though. You're traveling.
we miss we miss winter in Seattle and miss summer in Florida, so it's kind of works out perfect for us.
That's pretty good.
It's a good spot in the winter to go back home. That's where we both grew up, so love being there during that time. And I've kind of gotten soft a little bit. I grew up playing in Florida summers, and that's all I knew. Now we go to Atlanta or wherever, Kansas City, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so hot. I grew up in 100 humid in Florida and thought nothing of it, but I've gotten away from it.
I've never been able to get used to the humidity when I go places like
stifling.
You get used to it, right?
You get used to it. I didn't notice it a ton. I just thought it was normal.
Yeah.
And I notice it right when I go back, obviously. And I'm like, how did I do this? And then you live there a couple months, and you kind of just get used to it all over again.
Yeah.
So before we let you go, individual goal for this year. Did you set any markers, any innings, or any ERA, or I want to be an all-star again? I want to be a finalist for the Cy Young.
Yeah.
What's the goal?
I try to not get too statistical. The big thing last year and this year is making every start, being healthy the entire year. Some of that's out of my hands, but doing what I can to make that happen. And I only said 200 innings last year. That was my big goal. So might as well stick with it. Things went all right, so I think I'll just stick to that.
All right, we're putting it out there right now. Wyman and Bob, he's going to be a finalist in the Cy Young.
We put it out there.
At minimum,
I like it.
finalist.
Bob called it.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
there we
right.
go.
Thanks, guys.
We always appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for taking the time. And, of
course.
course, we wish you nothing but the best.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Good talking to you guys.
How cool was that, what you just saw, right? Great stuff. If you want more of that, you continue right here. We're going to have all kinds of stuff happening from Peoria live, and you find it right here on YouTube. And where else can they find it?
They can download the Seattle Sports app. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
That's very true, what you said there.